Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Well Red Beard, and it's a damn fine day to talk about some books. We are here for my January 2025 wrap up, where I'm going to show you everything I read in the month of January. Had a good month, read 12 books, and I'm going to show them to you in order of least enjoyed to most enjoyed. I didn't give anything below a 3 stars. So I liked everything I read. I mean, I definitely liked some of the ones I read a lot more than others, but nothing really bad, nothing really that I just absolutely didn't like. So 12 books, four ish Stephen King books, a classic, a couple Pulitzer winners. Um, let's see where, in my opinion, they rank out. So, 12th book. Again, we're going least enjoyed to most enjoyed is Gwendy's Magic Feather by Richard Chismar. I did all three of these books this month. I had done Gwendy's Button Box before. I had not done the two sequels. So this book for me, it felt I liked quite a bit. Liked the first book. This book fell short for me as far as a follow up. I just didn't love it. But this is book two, Wendy's Magic Feather by Richard Chismar. So I've been kind of doing some Carlton Mellick books. They are odd, they are bizarro, they are just a spiraling absurdity is what they are, and I like them, and I like them as palate cleansers between more difficult books. I like them for a laugh. I like them when I want to read something, but there's a lot of outside noise going on, so I can't really like dig into like a more difficult book. So I've read five Carlton Mellick books at this point. I read two of them this month, and You Always Try to Kill Me in Your Dreams. This is a novella. It's short, but 3 star range for me. I mean, it's fourth or I think it's fourth as far as my rankings on the Mellick books that I've done. But anyway, next is Gwendy's Final Task. This is the big climax to the series. Chismar, or at least based off what it says on the cover, Chismar writes book two on his own, and then Stephen King comes back to co-write the final book. Gwendy goes to space, you know, and she's going to space to dispose of the button box to get rid of it. So we believe that the button box has caused COVID at this point, as well as a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, liked the book. I liked it more than Magic Feather. Just didn't like it anywhere near what I liked about Wendy's button box. So yeah, Wendy's Final Task. Another Mellick, fantastic orgy. And this one is unlike the other four Mellick books that I've read. It's five short stories. But I think of those, this is probably my second favorite. Behind the first one I read, I really like the first one I read, which was Every Time We Meet at Dairy Queen, Your Whole Fucking Face Explodes. And I know that you probably think I made up that title, but I didn't. But this one's five stories, so it was kind of cool. Like absurdity still ratchets up in all five of them, but I feel like there's might be a little bit less of that, because like if you're, I don't know, like if it when it goes someplace crazy absurd, it's over, right? Because we're going to another story. But anyway, this is Fantastic Orgy by Carlton Mellick III. And all these books have reviews up. So if you want to know more about what I thought about these books, yeah, all these have reviews up. So, all right. So, Night Watch by Jane Ann Phillips. This won the Pulitzer Prize in 2024 for fiction. I'm only doing fiction right now. as far as Pulitzer winners. I'm trying to work my way back. So I've done this. I've done a 2023 winner. I'm currently reading the other 2023 winner, which is odd because I think it's the only year where they actually let two books win. I mean, there are some years in history where no book won. But anyway, this is my first Pulitzer Project read. I liked this book. I probably 3.5 star liked this book. So, Night Watch by Jane and Phillips. All right. Those were all 3-star rankings. I mean, 3 to 4, right? Like some of them, I mean, Night Watch was, like I said, a 3.5 star, but on Goodreads, they were 3-star rankings. So I've tried to at least order them that way, where, I show you the 3 stars, I show you the 4 stars, I show you. So my first 4-star, Gwendy's Button Box. I really like this story. I mean, it's simple, it's short, it's like 170 pages. It's a breeze to read through. I think it was like 3 hours tops in the way that I read them in audio. I actually knocked this book and Gwendy's Magic Feather out in a single day audio while doing chores and whatnot. But so very, very quick read. But I love the idea of young Gwendy. I love the idea of the button box and what it represents and what it means and all that. Yeah, it's a cool story. So this was a low 4-star read for me, and this is Wendy's Button Box. All right, I read It by Stephen King. This was a reread. I enjoy this book. I think on reread it's a little bit long. I think it could have been quite a bit shorter. And there's a very, very uh, controversial scene that I personally had forgotten, and I'm not going to go into it here. I have a short up about that controversial scene. Also have a full review of this book up that discusses that scene. But it's odd because it hasn't been in either of the film versions. And again, I read this the first time when I was like 16 years old, and the funny thing is, like, much like the kids in the book that have forgot when they've grown up, they have forgotten the past. I had also forgotten, this scene. But yeah, I mean, I still like this book. I still love the clown aspect, love the coming of age aspects. I mean, again, I'm not really a cosmic horror guy, so the fact that it's all cosmically explained, I never loved that. Like, I never loved the idea of the massive spider at the end or whatnot. But I think this is in my top 10 Stephen King books of all time. I probably would have told you at one time it was in my top 5. It's not. It's more around the 7, 8, I think, now at this point. But yeah, definitely enjoyed the reread, just not as much as maybe I thought. So, next, Folk Songs for Trauma Surgeons by Keith Rawson. This is a short story collection. Keith has 6 books out. This is his only short story collection, I believe. I have read 5 of the 6 of his books. I think I have 5-star loved 2 of those. He's got a 2-book series, which right there, The Devil by Name and Fever House. I like that series. I like his standalone novels that I've read more, which were Road 7 and, well, you'll see, because the other one's in my top 2 books of this month. But anyway, really like this short story collection. And the first 7 or so stories, like, knocked it out of the park for me. Like, it was on its way to a 5-star. And then some of the later stories kind of brought it down a little bit. But yeah, this is a great read, and probably the coolest title of any book I've read in quite a while. So I read Brother by Nia Alborn. This is my second Alborn read. I'm trying to get through some more of Alborn's stuff this year, but really enjoyed this. I mean, 4-star extreme horror book, and that's yeah. I mean, this is I don't know. I don't want to say this because it's not necessarily the case, but you go to Barnes and Noble. I mean, I read a lot of indie horror. I read a lot of extreme horror. Not a lot, but you go to the shelf at Barnes and Noble, and I think you kind of expect that the horror there might be the watered down, acceptable horror. But this is pretty damn extreme, considering that it's often at least on the shelf at the big bookstores. So, Brother by Ania Almore. All right, my last 4-star read and my top 4-star read was another reread. This is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This book is fabulous. It's fabulous for its horror elements. It's fabulous for the sudden and non-drawn out climax. But what it's really fabulous for is the quotes or the one-liners, the phrases, the turns of phrase that just jump off the page at you. And there's all kinds of them throughout here. I mean, matter of fact, if you're interested in what I'm saying here, go Google famous quotes from The Picture of Dorian Gray. And what I found was there's a Goodreads page that just has them. And it's a shit ton of them. And there's just so many good things like something along the lines of the books that society has deemed as immoral are the books that show society its own shame. And that's completely not quoted properly, but there's just quote after quote after quote that just jumps off the page about love and art and books. And, so very, very cool book. And I'm going to have to read something else. At least I'm going to have to Google Oscar Wilde's best books. And if it's not this one, whatever is next or above it, I'm going to have to read another Oscar Wilde book in the near future. So, yeah. Okay, 5-star reads. I had 2 of them. The Mercy of the Tide by Keith Rawson. Again, I'm a fan. Keith is my flavor, my cup of tea. I have found that I just love the way he writes. I love the horror, crime, dark elements mixed with well-written literary style that has a lot of cool passages, like I talked about in the Dorian Gray. Rawson's got quite a bit of that stuff going on as well. And for me, when those things intersect, when the beautiful standalone, I don't know what you call them, but the beautiful standalone like paragraphs or phrases meets with like themes that are my cup of tea, like horror and stuff like that. That's where I find like my sweet spot. So, The Mercy of the Tide. This was his first novel, and I believe it's my favorite novel of his so far. I've got one more to do. It's called Smoke City. So, but this was a 5-star read for me. It was the first read of January. It was the first read of 2025, and just really, really good way to start the year, the month. And my favorite book of January 2025 was Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Man, I have struggled to say Kingsolver twice today. Kingsolver. This is a Pulitzer winner for 2023. There were 2 books that won in 2023. The other one is Trust by Hernan Diaz, but this was a Pulitzer winner for 2023, and working my way through Pulitzer winners. So this book's awesome. Coming of age, story about a kid, an orphan kid brought up through just the foster system, child labor, the opioid epidemic. I mean, this really just kind of nails down what the opioid epidemic really means and how it started and why it started in Appalachia. And but it's kind of redneck retelling of David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. And I read this book. I even got deep into my review of this book before I realized how close Demon Copperhead, or how Demon Copperhead is basically a redneck Appalachian hillbilly version of David Copperfield. Demon Copperhead, David Copperfield. Anyway, it's a really, really cool book. And I don't know. There's definitely some redemption, some some survival. I mean, you're rooting for this kid, but you're also like, man, I know you had to fall prey to that, but come on, Anyway, cool book. Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. That is my January 2025 wrap up. We are already starting in on February reads. I'll have some good stuff for you this month. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you checking out the video. Hit like, subscribe, tell a friend, do whatever you do. Yeah, appreciate you. I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.